You know, one of my favorites this year anyway was when we looked at bank bailouts. We looked at all the banks that had gotten TARP money, and they included, well, that's not right, but they included options to buy common shares. And we looked at the price of the common shares that we, the taxpayers, paid for, and we looked at the price of the common shares that the government agreed to pay the banks for, and found that if we cashed in all our common stock warrants, we, the taxpayer, would have about a $10 billion loss, which now sounds kind of like a joke in the scheme of things. 10 billion, crap, that's nothing, man. But we were pretty excited about it, and we called them up, and the Treasury Undersecretary who was managing it came out and clutched the podium tightly and said, "We're not day traders." And somebody in the back of the briefing room raised their hand and said, "Yeah, I hear they make money." So, so we use, there's not much arguing with that. And we did we did a compensation analysis back before the $16 billion story came out, showing that I guess it was the top 10 richest banks. We got deep into their compensation package, which was public record from the Securities and Exchange Commission, and found that one bank executive, for example, had been paid $800,000 in relocation expenses to move from Pittsburgh to New York. So where was my first call, do you think? I called U-Haul to see how many trailers I could get for $800,000 to move my family from Pittsburgh to New York. And they kind of hemmed and hawed and said, "Well, would you want the insurance or not?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? Be conservative." And the guy could have hired enough 26-foot U-Haul trailers to place one every 300 yards between Pittsburgh and New York City. He could have hired a taxi cab to take him around the world. That we are, we aren't looking at the successes. You'll hear that a lot. When we looked at the history of the 9/11 loan program that was administered by the Small Business Administration, they handed out something like $4 billion in small business disaster loans after 9/11. Now, a disaster loan, as you probably know, is generally isolated to a geographic region where the disaster happened. And we thought we would just go in and see who got the most small business money in New York. And I got the data, and I started seeing places like Ketchikan, Alaska, which is a distance from ground zero. Guam, there was a gun dealer. There was a winery in Oregon. My personal favorite was the Little Pet Salon and Spa from Salt Lake City, Utah. And I can't remember the call letters, but Hit Kickin' Country, K something 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 of Belfouche, South Dakota. And what it turned out is they had suspended the rules. They had handed out money to anyone who could claim that they had been injured by 9/11. And the Salt Lake Pet Spa had a point. All the Mormons who have big families and therefore have lots of little animals running around weren't going on vacation, so their kennel wasn't making money, so they needed a bridge loan because of those gosh darned Al-Qaeda people. But the story didn't stop there, because we started running into people who said, we would call people and they would say, "Hey, well, we didn't get a loan, not for 9/11. And it turned out that a lot of bankers figured you could make some quick money, and they were just putting these people down as 9/11 victims without telling them. So you can imagine we had a lot of outraged borrowers. We had some severely outraged lenders. Ground Zero was just we've never... It's the bleeping out just sounded like Morse code, What do you think about this? And it'd be beep, 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 So the SBA was not happy because we didn't write about the dry cleaner in Soho that was saved from an SBA loan. Sorry we missed one. Likewise, when we did a story on USDA subsidies back in 2000, and this story, and just talk about 9/11, this story ran September 10th, 2001. Our timing is not always great at the AP. We found that 2/3 of the money was going to the richest 10%, and this is like billions and billions of dollars, which again sounds kind of trite, but seemed like a lot of money to us in 2001. And we found that the USDA called and said, "Well, we understand where you're going with this. It is an expensive program, but I want you to write about all the family farms that we're helping to preserve." So I did. We did. We wrote about the Ted Turner family farm that got hundreds of thousands of dollars. We wrote about the Rockefeller family farm that also got hundreds of thousands of dollars. We wrote about the J.R. Simplot family farm, the guy who makes French fries for McDonald's, who got tens of millions of dollars. And but the one constant through all these is that they can't argue with their own numbers. And these numbers are easy to get. They're not that tough to track down, to deal with. They're very again, it requires some expertise with some computer software, some programs. NICAR, National Institute for Computer Assisted Reporting, runs excellent seminars, very well worth the investment. You can localize this stuff to the nth degree. I'm told we've had several hundred hits on our HUD database of empty neighborhoods, which allows you to literally click on a link and go to a map showing where the empty neighborhoods are, because most of us don't know what census tract we live in. So I think there's great promise, and since the Ashcroft memo has basically gone by the wayside, I've just found one thing. I don't know if you guys I used to work at the Journal. I don't think that they were ever quite this shameless, but lately when someone says, well, that'll take some work to get this data together, my response has been, well, that's not quite change we can believe in. And so anyway, so thank you very much for your time.